This is Anthony Nunez with AMN Education, and today I'm going to be doing a series on the Enlightenment era. This series is geared towards the New York State Regents exam, but it's easily applicable for anyone across the nation. So, first off, if you find this information useful, please subscribe to my channel and you'll get the latest updates as I continue to post videos to help students in education. This video could be modified to suit your educational speed by pausing and rewinding when necessary. Or you can go into the settings and adjust the playback speed. So you can make me talk a little faster or a little slower, depending on what your best needs are. Or you can add captions if that helps. Now, I recommend that when I get to the questions of the Regents, you can pause it, read it on your own, try to answer it, and then hear my explanation after. So some notes. If you wanted to get some quick notes about the Enlightenment era, it's a time period where many individuals created ideas or theories about government, hence political science. These ideas would help inspire revolutions across the world. This time period in the 1700s was an interesting time period because it comes after the scientific revolution. So people witnessing or experiencing the scientific revolution say, you know what, there's probably some science to government. So what theories, what kind of ideas can we create where this government can be a little more fluid and not this absolute monarch that these countries were used to? So who are the key individuals driving these ideas? These are the top individuals that you need to know for the Regents. So, John Locke. John Locke is one of the older ones. He has some interesting views on education, but the Regents is going to be looking at his theories on natural rights and how the government, if it's not treating you right, if it's not protecting life, liberty, and property, you can rebel, right? So, not as an individual, but as a group, as a collective. If the government's not protecting the masses, the people, then the people can rebel. We've seen that throughout history. Montesquieu is going to believe in separation of powers to limit the power of the ruler. Montesquieu was particularly talking about kings, but the United States was able to adopt his beliefs and implement them in what we have now with the three branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. So the executive, who would be like the ruler, gets checked by Congress and the judicial branch regularly. Now, the next one doesn't always get thrown into the Enlightenment era, but I put him into my classes because he's in the same time period. He's in the 1700s, and he's the U.S. representation of these ideas that are inspiring change in the political realm. So Thomas Paine wrote this famous book, Common Sense. It's a pamphlet which advocated or influenced people to get independence from Great Britain. Now, some of the things he was saying was, you got this tiny island bullying countries or territories all over the world, and in particular for the U.S., it did not make sense that the U.S., who's several times bigger than Britain, is getting manipulated by Britain. And you got to keep in mind, back then, they're traveling by ship. So Britain would make legislations on their own accord with very minimal input from the colonist, and then it would take several weeks for that new law to be transported or the information to get back to the colonies, because someone had to take a ship to notify the colonists of the changes. All right. The other two people I have on the bottom is Voltaire and Rousseau. They don't typically pop up on the Regents, but it's good to know them to be prepared just in case if the people that create the Regents decide to change it up. So Voltaire's known for freedom of religion. So if he were to pop up in the Regents, I think it would be tied to the First Amendment and how he was an advocate for freedom of religion. However, in that process of freedom of religion, he also, by default, was advocating freedom of speech. So he could go either way if they were to include him on the Regents. Rousseau, which really gets the credit for the theory of social contract, that's how he would pop up, this theory of social contract. However, Rousseau bases a lot of his ideas from John Locke, so you'll see commonly the Regents refer to John Locke with the social contract, even though a political science person might toss the credit over to Rousseau. So, I'm going to sample some questions. So I'm pulling some questions that you might see from the Regents, and I'm going to show you examples of multiple choice questions, DBQ questions, and essay questions so that you're better prepared for what you could be seeing on the Regents exam. So from the Regents, January 2018, we get a multiple choice question that says, in writing the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson was most directly influenced by the social contract theory of. Now, we have to eliminate two of the options, okay? So why don't we take out two people that were not there during the Enlightenment era, right? So they're not one of the Enlightenment thinkers, okay? So if we were to do that, we would take out Benjamin Franklin, who doesn't pop up on the U.S. Regents. I don't know why, but he's a very influential U.S. history founding father, and James Madison. All right, so we're going to take those two out because they're not correlated with the social contract theory. Now we're left with John Locke and Baron de Montesquieu. And if you remember from the notes, with the social contract theory, they tend to give credit to John Locke. So John Locke would be the best answer here. This next question comes from the August 2017 Regents. The main reason Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, this is that pamphlet, was to do what? So you got to remember the pamphlet is going against Britain, and it's, during the Enlightenment era. So urge adoption of the Albany Plan. Albany's in the U.S. I don't know, right? We're gonna keep reading the rest of the examples. Gain support for declaring independence from Britain. Maybe we see something with Britain. Bring an end to the Revolutionary War. Well, Revolutionary War was with Britain, so maybe. Convince states to ratify the new Constitution. Now that comes later, so we can take off 4. We're gonna take out 1. We're down to 2 and 3, and the independence is going to kind of kickstart in the beginning stages of this Revolutionary War. So we are going to go with number 2. So 2 is the best answer for this question on the Regents. This question is about Montesquieu. So this is from the August 2013 Regents. So it's overdue to come up again. So to prevent tyranny. So this is a leader who has total control. The authors of the Constitution drew on Montesquieu's concepts of, so we see them taking ideas from the Enlightenment thinkers. Religious liberty, maybe one of them talks about religious liberty. Universal suffrage, so the suffrage, right, we're voting. Universal, not yet, so we can take out 2. Separation of powers, maybe. Supremacy of the nobility, well, we don't have this nobility stuff in the U.S., so we could take that out as well. So we're down to 1 and 3, and the best answer would be 3, separation of powers. So Montesquieu is known for separation of powers, which in our government is the 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Now, on the June 2016 Regents, we see they take a little excerpt from Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Okay? And I think that the new Regents exams are going to pull more towards this style questioning because they're trying to make it more of like an English-based exam. So whoever's creating the Regents is making it more of an English exam and testing less for historical knowledge per se and more towards skills. So you might see more of these style questions. So in this case, Thomas Paine is saying small islands not capable of protecting themselves are the proper object for kingdoms to take under their care. So he's talking about, if his country's territory is little, then it makes sense for a place like England to govern a little territory. But there's something very absurd in supposing that a continent to be perpetually governed by an island. So in this case, he's talking about it's absurd that Great Britain, which is a little island, is governing the United or the Americas when the Americas is much bigger in size compared to England. Okay, and they're far away. So he talks about them being far away. That just doesn't make any sense. So let's see if we have enough to answer the question. If the argument presented in this passage was intended to urge colonists to accept the Albany Plan. We know Albany's in the U.S., which maybe. 2, provide a reason for ratification of the Constitution. Well, we know that they took a lot of these ideas for the Constitution, but that sounds a little bit ahead. Let's cross out number 2. Number 2's later. Convince American colonists to declare independence. Maybe. Persuade France to aid the United States in the Revolutionary War. Whoa, maybe. So let's take out 1 and 2. Now we're down to 3 and 4. And the best answer with Thomas Paine is that he's going to be convincing American colonists to declare independence. That pamphlet, the Common Sense pamphlet, was monumental in influencing people to decide to take action and declare independence. So, what I have in front of you now is a thematic essay. So as you can see, they're asking you for cultural and intellectual life. So how's the media playing a role in society? Since the early days of the nation, mass media has significantly influenced the political, economic, and social life of the United States and American society. These media include pamphlets, newspapers, books, magazines, posters, photographs, radio, film, and television. So in terms of the Enlightenment era, we only really have Thomas Paine here as a representation, but they could very easily switch this question, craft it in a way where they're talking about ideas that influence the U.S., and they can add on more Enlightenment thinkers. But as you can see, Thomas Paine is going to be vital to know for your Regents. They put him in there regularly. Okay, and they're asking you for the historical circumstance. You can talk about the Enlightenment in the historical circumstance and say how the Enlightenment ideas are being implemented by this new nation that's rebelling against Great Britain and becoming independent and implementing all of these ideas from the Enlightenment. So this is revolutionary. It literally was a revolution, but we're implementing these new ideas, and we have a new form of government never been tested before. Okay? This is a document. So a document like this, they love taking an excerpt from Thomas Paine. He might get sprinkled in every once in a while if there's something about change or writing. So here we have his work. We're going to just read the first little paragraph of this document and see if it gives us enough to answer the question. So the question is, according to Edmund Morgan, what was one effect of Thomas Paine's Common Sense? We're talking about the pamphlet, okay? So there is an exaltation and excitement about common sense that conveys the very uncommon sense of adventure Americans felt as they moved towards independence, okay? So this is not something that was, that they were jumping about. This was a tough decision for this country to declare independence. There were some loyalists who were still loyal to the crown. With it would come new perils or new obstacles, but also new opportunities and new freedoms. So these new opportunities, these new freedoms, they're talking about inculcating or implementing these Enlightenment ideas. All right, we'll keep reading. They knew they were on the threshold of a great experience, not only for themselves, but perhaps for the whole world. The cause of America, Paine told them, is in great measure the cause of all mankind, and they believed him. Again, this is a sounding board of the Enlightenment ideas. People were learning about the Enlightenment era. They were applying it. This was something they believed in. And right here we can take that one effect was that these people were convinced that they were doing something for a great cause. that this was going to be revolutionary. This they needed to get independence. So if you put something like that, you would get the answer correct here. And this would be the accompanying essay. So this was recently in June. You would have gotten this essay, and Thomas Paine is one of the people used to write that you could use to craft this essay. You would have to pick two of the written works. Okay? So don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get the latest updates when videos are posted. We wish you the best with your class and the Regents. And these videos are created to supplement the work of your teacher, not to supplant. So continue to pay attention, okay? Hope this video helps out, and I hope you continue to view the rest of the videos that come out.